Okay, Nancy, you would call this meeting to order?
Yes, I am calling the Borough meeting to order at 4:06 on the 30th of April. And Mr. Allen will lead the flag salute.
Okay. Okay, ready? I
Ready.
pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United
States of America,
America,
to
and
the
to the
republic
public
which
for which it
stands
stands,
one
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 nation,
nation, under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty.
liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
Like that, I have my flag up there. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I touch.
Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in the Beach Haven Municipal Building and mailing the same to the Beach Haven Times, the Asbury Park Press, and the Press of Atlantic City. Mr. Allen,
Here.
Mrs. Baumiller,
Here.
Mr. Lynch,
Here,
Mr. Maskell, Mayor Davis.
Here.
Okay, the first item on the agenda tonight is Ordinance 2020-10. This is an ordinance of the Borough of Beach Haven authorizing a financial agreement pursuant to the 5-year exemption and abatement law. This particular agreement and abatement agreement is for the Victoria Rose development, and this is for introduction, first reading.
Okay, so this is a first reading, no discussion. Do I have a motion to approve this?
Motion
to
to approve.
Second,
All right.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Mrs. Baumiller,
Yes.
Mr. Lynch,
yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Thank you. All matters listed under item consent agenda are considered to be routine by the municipal council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Any items requiring expenditure are supported by a certification of availability of funds, and any item requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed separately. All consent agenda items will be reflected in full in the minutes. Resolution 100 is approving application for fireworks display for Fantasy Island. Resolution 101 is returning remaining escrow. Resolution 102 is approving a place-to-place transfer expansion of premise of plenary retail consumption license 1503-32-009-005, owned by the Marlin Restaurant and Bar. 103, authorizing an online auction at GovDeals for boat slip leases. 104 is authorizing an electronic tax sale. 105 is authorizing a fee for the tax sale notices. 106, emergency temporary appropriations. 107 is amending and approving the NFIP's PPI plan. 108 is executing an agreement with Tuckerton Seaport for the ferry. 109 is approving sidebar agreements with the PBA local, the Teamsters Local 97, and the Teamsters Local 95 for additional leave time. And 110, extending the grace period for second quarter taxes and water. So I know that this is a long list, and if any member of council would like to go ahead and pull some of these out and discuss them before we take a vote on the group.
I just want to ask two questions. The first question, and I emailed you this, I didn't get an answer back. The electric tax sale, I'm not really sure I understand that.
Okay, so that is an electronic tax sale, not an electric tax sale.
Electronic. I read through the thing, and no wonder I'm just trying to do too much stuff. Okay, yeah,
So
okay.
that just gives us the authorization to conduct our tax sale through electronic means.
Right, exactly. And now I don't have on my my agenda and my list. I read through all these. I don't have the fireworks one, which is 100 listed. Can you just give me the dates and on that?
Dates are June 19th, September 6th, October 10th, and December 31st.
Okay, now, I mean, I assume that this is going to be dependent on whatever else happens in town as regarding opening businesses and so on.
Yes, I mean, we're trying to be as optimistic as possible.
Right, okay. All right, I have no other questions. Anybody else?
Can you say the dates, Sherry? Can you say the dates again for the fireworks? Because I didn't have a chance to look at this resolution because it wasn't on the agenda.
Sure, it's June 19th, September 6th, October 10th, and December 31st.
Okay, would anybody like to remove any of these resolutions for further discussion?
Can we move the fireworks resolution off, please?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
anybody else, anything else?
So before we go on, the resolution that 103 authorizing the boat slip leases, I know we talked about in order to help with this summer season and kind of boost the businesses that we were going to allot a couple more of the slips for transient use. So currently we have 13 slips and we were doing 4 for transient and 9 for lease. And I just want to make sure that I understand correctly that we're offering 6 for transient and 7 for lease. Is that correct?
I thought, I read through that. I thought there were more for lease. I'm sorry, I have to go look at it again.
Well, that resolution, I left them all. I kind of highlighted them because I wasn't sure exactly what you were asking me, but I think what I heard when we discussed this before was that we would do 6 for transient use and 7 for lease.
I said I would go along with what Dan and Jamie wanted to do. They were considering this. I just see 9 boat slips listed here. So,
Yeah, because last year we did 4 and we leased 9. So
okay.
Dan and Jamie, what would you like to do?
I think we should give that a shot. If we can help people out this year, we should do whatever we can. So I think 6 is okay for transient, 7 for lease.
I agree.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, then the consent agenda then is resolutions 101 through 110 with 100 removed for discussion separately.
Correct.
Do I have a
Is there
motion?
anybody want to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Mrs. Baumiller,
Yes.
Mr. Lynch,
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Okay, so now, Jamie, you can discuss 100 separately.
Okay, so originally I was not okay with having any firework displays in May through June because of the activity that's happening in the Bay. It's a spawning season. The birds are nesting and it's just a very active time in the Bay. So I was against any type of firework display happening in May and June.
Does anybody else want to speak to that?
I think the
Yeah.
last discussion that we had with Mr. Wainwright, that we discouraged him from doing any of the spring dates, but the others we were okay with. That's what I remember from our last discussion. I know Brian Wainwright is on the call. Brian, if you would like to unmute and discuss this with council, you can.
Yeah, the June date I did leave on despite the conversations, because that was the date. And look, obviously we don't even know if we're gonna be allowed to be open at that point. So this is all a gamble. So we could get the approval and choose not to do it or not be able to do it or not be open. But this would be the first weekend under normal circumstances that schools would be out. And that is the Friday before that weekend that we would ordinarily do our Touch a Truck event with the first responders and raise a bunch of money that we donate. And in light of obviously the fire, I really wanted to try to preserve that event. It may not be practical this year, but I assumed that, I just wanted to leave it on for consideration. If it's a no, it's a no. We'll deal with it.
Any other council members want to speak to this? I tend to agree with Jamie, although in the light of this coronavirus, I think any kind of celebration might be helpful to people who are depressed and been shut in, and it's something they could stand out in the street and look at. That would be my only, I tend to agree this is a time when birds are nesting and fish are spawning. It's not a great time, but we don't even know if we're having the 4th of July fireworks at this point. So I just, everything's so iffy as to what's going to happen, but it would be nice to have some sort of celebratory event, if possible. Does anybody else, I have
Ed,
mixed
can you chime
emotions.
in?
Nobody else wants to?
This is Tom Lynch. I'm kind of leading with Nancy. I think we need some kind of celebration. I know that the birds and the fish will be doing their spawning, but I think they've already started their spawning in March and April and May and June. But I think the town's going to need some positive things to be done. And maybe this is one. We don't know we're even going to be open. So
I agree. I
Dan,
mean,
do you have any thoughts on this before we ask for a motion?
Yeah, I mean, I had thought that the last discussion that we had all agreed that this would be starting later in the summer and through Christmas Eve. You know, I get the idea of getting people something to look forward to, because it's been April's been a long year. So it's kind of a tough call. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this one's kind of got me mixed emotions.
well, I would prefer to have it in October myself, but the only reason I tend to vote for it is I just feel that this has just been so difficult for everybody. It's a small firework display. And I would certainly hope next year, when everything's normal, we could push these all into the fall. But I guess
I understand the need for celebration, but can we hear from the Trums on this? Because I'm not sure an early June date is necessarily pulling in a large crowd, what we're kind of aiming for here. I mean, pushing it to July. I mean, we have the 4th of July fireworks, and then, having more celebrations with more people coming together in September and October, I would think would be more responsible.
Go ahead.
Or maybe later in June, because I think if we get any relax on how we're going to open, it's going to be early at that point. And we don't really know what the guidelines are. What we've put out is what we think they're going to be. We don't know if the governor's going to change things on how he opens. So I would tend to think that maybe if we pushed it off a little later, maybe he could shoot for the end of June, 1st of July. Of course, that comes in with 4th of July, but I don't know. That's my opinion.
Agreed.
All of the paperwork and contracts and Coast Guard approvals and everything are in. Brian submitted all that to us, and we have to send it to our insurance company, and that was all approved by them. So when it's presented to council at this point, Brian's already done lots of legwork.
Gotcha.
I don't know if he can move dates around very easily at this point. It's either yes or no,
all right. I guess we have to make
What
a
do you guys
decision.
want to? What do you want to do with this resolution? Do you want to ask for a motion as presented or ask for a motion as amended?
Could we ask for a motion as amended, maybe? I mean, I personally think I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of people. I don't think we're going to be in full swing at that time, to be perfectly truthful. I mean, just the conference calls I've been on, and the fact that New Jersey's the second leading hotspot state in the country. I really hate to say that, but I think if we move too fast, and although I don't think, this isn't going to draw people into town, so I don't think. I think it's just a nice sort of feeling for people that are here to give them a little hope. But I don't know. I'm mixed emotions.
I think that a June 19th fireworks would draw a crowd into Beach Haven, as it's okay to come and celebrate, which it's okay to celebrate if you're here, but I think it would draw more of a crowd. But again, I don't know. I could be mistaken.
I don't think if things aren't open, but why don't we try to amend this, and maybe Brian could look at it again and just move it to the fall. That'd probably be the best thing.
Are you tabling this resolution, Ben? You don't want to move on this if you don't have your exact dates, Brian?
Well, I guess my question would be, is there such a thing as a conditional approval that, if these sets of circumstances are achieved, that we all agree, look, if there's nobody here or we're putting people at risk, I have no interest in shooting off a firework display. My hope would be that this would be a, Beach Haven is back open, and it's something that people can do, from a safe distance from one another, and generally speaking. And I think any later in June, you're really sort of infringing on the July 4th date. So, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And I guess I would rather see it be sort of a conditional that we could have the approval and circle back and say, look, we just don't feel comfortable with you doing it, and we can fall back from it, would be my thought. But
I don't think there's any issue with that. Bruce, do you want to chime in about what a conditional approval might look like in this resolution? You have to unmute.
Sorry, I was still muted.
There you
You'd
go.
have to specify what the conditions are. It might be easier just to approve the dates that are acceptable, and then we can wait and see, or you can do some sort of conditions, whatever the council wants its conditions to be, have to be satisfied for that June date.
Thanks, Bruce. I mean, Nancy, if you were going to do that, what would the conditions be? Because Jamie was saying it's about spawning. It's not about anything else, right? It's about spawning wildlife.
Well,
Jamie?
I mean, that's my reason for not wanting them in the fall. As I said, the only reason, and Brian isn't going to want it if he's not allowed to be open and things are still shut down. I would just rather just approve everything but the one in June and just let it go. I don't really think it's everything's so iffy, and I don't really want to attract more people into town. I want the businesses to be successful, but I'm very worried that if we move too fast with opening everything up and we have a spike in cases and mortality, the governor's going to come down even harder on us. And that's my big concern. It only makes sense. I'm an epidemiologist. I mean, we can look and see what happens in Georgia and Texas and some of these places, but we're a very small state. It was very clear to me yesterday when I was on a conference call that there's no way the state's going to be approving things to be open in one part of the state versus another. It's too small a state. So they're not going to go county by county or allow partial approval depending on where you are. Anybody can drive almost everywhere in New Jersey within an hour to 3 hours. So I think at this point, I really think it's not going to work out very well. I think we should just approve, if we can just say we're approving the later firework display.
You're amending the resolution to remove June 19th and approve September 6th, October 10th, December 31st, correct?
Correct.
Jamie, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Okay.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowmiller?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Then that's all I have for resolutions. Now, one part of our general discussion for today's meeting, we met on Tuesday through Zoom with the Beach Haven Chamber of Commerce, who has kind of been being the middleman for the municipal council to hear some ideas from the business community of what they feel that the borough could do to help them. Some of you have already seen the Executive Order 4 that was put out this week that allows for temporary site plan applications to be put in to encourage some outdoor seating. So some of these full service restaurants can get closer to their maximum occupancy because they're not going to be able to do that inside. I did get an email today from the Beach Haven Chamber of Commerce kind of summarizing some of the ideas that they have put forth. Nancy, do you want me just to read through these?
Yeah, I got it too. I mean, it's pretty much what we already talked about, but go ahead.
Okay, so one of them was communication. The first item was a continued communication. They say that, obviously some of the guidance is still unknown and that people are getting restless. Unfortunately, if guidance is still unknown to us, we can't give any.
Let me just say something. I really think it's irresponsible for mayors to be getting up and saying, we're going to be opened up by this date, because we don't know. And
Yep.
there's still so much gray area in this. I mean, and there's this whole disease is being politicized, which is really bothering me. I get a couple emails every day from somebody that says it's a hoax, the disease is a hoax, and the doctors are lying and all this stuff. As an epidemiologist and somebody that spent my life, 41 years, teaching epidemiology and teaching virology and pathophysiology, I really think there is a danger here. It isn't something we can just say automatically on certain date, everything's going to go away. And as I said before, if we open everything up really fast and give people false hope, I think we're making a huge mistake. If everybody orders tons of stuff for their merchandise and their business, and then spiking these things in July, and then the governor shuts everything down, it's going to be worse for everybody. I do think I really want to get things open, and I think, there's just so many factors here, like policing this. I am hoping that I get, for every 2 emails I get from business people and stuff saying we've got to open up, I'm getting at least 1 email from somebody else wanting to even go stricter in what we're doing because they're really scared. So it's a really tightrope you're walking here. And I really want the businesses to succeed. I want things to open up. And I do think people will self-police themselves in some respects. But I think, like California now, is talking about closing beaches. Some towns have. Actually, the counties control the beaches in California, the municipalities here. But because they haven't been self-policing themselves on the beach, the governor's talking about shutting all the beaches down again in California. So as we slowly make, like the parks just opened, golf courses are now open. We have other things that will gradually open. I think we need to be responsible, and we want to go into this so that it's not all shut down again in the middle of July. That's my concern. And so I don't think we can start saying, well, you'll be open. I think we need to set up some plans and let people know that if you open, you can only let so many people in your store at once, yada, yada. I mean, we're working really hard on a sidewalk, letting people sell stuff outside. And there's a lot of issues there. Weekends are probably too busy. You can be real crowded on the sidewalks too. So, we're working on that, but
yeah, maybe we can go down this list and address point out some of the things that we're already working on. So we are working with the attorney right now to create the ability for anybody that's doing a takeout business, food or beverage takeout business, to be able to designate some curbside pickup spots. We are creating a universal logo for Beach Haven curbside pickup spots, and an application will be made available once this goes into effect that will allow you to make application, and we'll decide together where those go and how many there'll be. We're looking to waive fees, hopefully, for outdoor displays and the sandwich board signs. And none of this is done yet. I'm just saying we're working on it. We're looking to expand some of the permitted sidewalk sale dates to allow for some retail outside. So that's something that we're working on right now. There was a request from the Beach Haven Chamber that the borough waive the mercantile license fees and penalties. Mayor and council have already put into effect an extension of the due date for the mercantile license fees. But unfortunately, I don't think that waiving them for the summer is a good idea, because those fees directly offset our summer special officers. And we know that they're going to be a critical part of the summer again. So we are working on an extension for that. Let's see where.
Anything else, Sherry?
Yeah, so there was a request that we reduce the beach badge prices, but we already know that we are probably, because of the social distancing requirements, going to have to be expanding the swim areas and the guarding areas to allow for people to have more space. And that for us is going to need more guards. So we can't cut revenue if we have additional expenses. They've requested that we set up a convenient local testing center so employees can be tested weekly or daily if necessary. I'm not sure about that, but that's one item I'm going to have emergency management respond to. That we require all employees and customers to wear masks. That's pretty much already in effect that we know of. The need to limit the number of people in the businesses. I believe that will also, the guidance will come. We will get all that. It talks about easing restrictions for outside dining. We already did that as well. They're asking for assistance in obtaining the extension of premise permits for the ABC, and we are working to do that as well. They asked about relaxation of limits for impermeable ground coverage, so you can get temporary tenting over the tables. That's already in place as well under the emergency order 104 that we put out, that you are able to cover these temporary seating areas as part of this temporary order. They say they're asking for us to allow rentals after the order expires on May 1st. Just so you know, the rental order has been extended to May 15th, but we will continue to talk about that. There was a mention of the plastic bag ban, and businesses should know that the governor already put in place the Executive Order 103 and 104, which puts a hold on any local ordinance that would be rendered, I guess, impossible in these conditions. So we did get some guidance from the New Jersey Food Council that Executive 103 and 104 already says that ban is on hold now. Let's see. They're asking for mandatory stations for hand sanitizers for public use. I don't know if that's something that the borough could afford, but we would consider, and we're talking about putting a hand washing station at the playground facilities. So that's being considered. You're asking about a co-op for bulk disinfecting supplies. I think that's something that the chamber could handle on their own. Asking for specific guidelines for each business, that each business is expected to meet within 2 weeks of a reopening date. Again, we'll do the best we can, but each business is going to be getting their own plan together, and then we'll be providing what guidance we have. And again, we'll communicate as best we can. Jamie, you were on the call with us the other day. Did you want to add some other things that you heard that we could do to help the businesses?
I think that you pretty much covered everything that we talked about. We talked about increasing the guarded beaches, adding more guards, the sidewalk sales. I think that there were some new things there that I heard, but other than that, I think that you covered everything.
Yeah, and I think we might want to talk about allowing some of like a yoga studio that has their business based in Beach Haven and they pay a mercantile fee here, allow those folks to conduct their lessons on the beach in a different way than we would a company that comes from outside to do yoga on the beach. I know that Nancy's working to help ease some restrictions on the charter fishing and tour boat industry.
You didn't mention anything about using Bicentennial Park or any of the parks. Was there anything on there requesting? I know that the Surf Light Theater might have some requests for that, and that was a great idea.
I hope that they do make application to do that. I think a special event application would work well for that. And if application comes in to use the park for that, we'll work with them. Yeah. Nancy, did you want to add anything?
I want to mention, I really like the idea of being able to test people that are working in these businesses. So, and obviously, I mean, testing is the key to this. The tests have not been flawed, a lot of them, and also expensive, but they are starting to get better and more plentiful. I just got off a conference call with the county, and I'm just thinking, you know, they're getting the Ocean County, is it Ocean County getting 106 million from FEMA that's going into a pot to pay? A lot of it will pay for maybe extra lifeguards and extra police officers. It can't be anything that we've already budgeted, but it might, you know, like we were worried about the cost of signs for takeout parking. I mean, it might cover that sort of thing. It might cover testing employees, that sort of thing. We need to look into that. That might help us. But
Bev, do you have
everybody's gonna
anything
be
to
vying
add?
for the money.
When it comes to the local testing sites, urgent care and I think it's called immediate medical in Ship Bottom, they're both testing sites.
Can anybody just go there and get tested, or do you have to have a doctor's
You have to
prescription?
have symptoms in
Right.
order to get tested, and you need to have a prescription, and then you have to go on the Ocean County Health Department site and schedule an appointment.
Right, and that's what I thought, which is very cumbersome. I mean, I think what the Commerce is suggesting is that if you knew that the people in the kitchen of your restaurant and the waiters, there were people handling your food didn't have the disease, people would feel more comfortable eating there. And
But I'm sorry, Nancy, I didn't mean to interrupt. I think I also heard that the doctor across the street from the Borough Hall is maybe suggesting doing testing there, but that's not been put out there yet.
well, I heard the Schmalls are doing it in their practice now.
Okay.
So you can get, I mean, obviously, once we have a decent antibody test that's real fast, I mean, that would at least show that you know, you've been exposed.
Right.
It wouldn't show that whether it's not a polymerase chain reaction test, but which is real expensive, but it would at least give you insight in who's not going to get it again, hopefully. And once those tests get cheaper, I think they will, it might be something we can consider, but at the moment, I think it's too expensive.
Right.
Too difficult to get tests.
And we haven't gotten any other guidance that they're going to open up a testing center closer to us other than Ocean County College.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Okay, so I hope that is a good summary. Dan, did you have any other ideas that you'd want to discuss with the council about support for the businesses?
I had talked to one of the businesses up around Veterans Park, not the Surflight, it was the Ingleside, and they said that one of the things that could help them a lot would be to maybe allow parking on a portion of the field temporarily. I don't know how the rest of council feels about that. I know that the discussion has been to allow the Surflight to run their programs through that too. But it was something I promised I would bring up and get a feel for. I know, if memory serves me, the master plan had a section of that being used for the emergency vehicles, and there was a section there that was devoted to parking for things of that nature. But they felt that it would help alleviate if they had to put tables in their own parking lot. You know, they're going to, you know, they already struggle with parking as is. So that would help them. And yeah, again, I don't know how everybody else feels about that. So I was just putting that out there.
I think it's a good idea. And you know, I think we can consider that sort of thing. This is a temporary circumstance, and if we are allowing a lot of restaurants to put tables outside on their parking lots, if we can find other places to provide parking, that would be really helpful to them. I think we need to try to do everything we can to help businesses.
Yeah, agreed.
Tom Lynch, do you have anything to add to this discussion?
No, I like the idea what Dan just brought up about the temporary area down there at the Veterans Park. I think that would be a good thing to help out as much as possible. I think we want to be a help. We don't want to be a hindrance.
Obviously.
And that's, I think, that's something we really have to show and help out as much as we possibly can.
Do I have Deb Whitcraft on this call? No. Deb? Deb, can you hear me? Okay. All right, because I wanted to try to get a feel for what some of the nonprofit businesses might suggest for assistance from the borough. We really haven't heard from them yet.
Let me just mention, and I think this is a good place to mention it. I got an email from Caroline Carson, who's the rector at Holy Innocents, saying that, you know, they haven't been included on any of this, and they do have large groups of people in the, you know, when they have church, they're doing everything online, but they would like to have some input and guidance also. So I did ask, I sent an email to all of you, Bev and Donna Marie and the chamber, the Chamber Chamber. And I did get an email back from Jen Cunningham, said she'll add them to the list. And I think it would be nice to extend that. We have other, we sort of forget about churches when we talk about nonprofits. And we want to be sure to reach out to all these people so they're getting the same kind of information. I mean, they have the same kind of concerns as the profitable businesses. So I think we need to get them on the list.
Beverly, you have something to add?
Yeah, Nancy, I was actually going to take care of that tomorrow. Make sure that I get all the contact information for the churches and the other nonprofits, because I realize they're not in the retail nixle.
Right, right. Thank you, Bev. That's great. I just want to say also, our emergency team, Bev and Bill, and Jim Markowski, that have been meeting every day overtime and keeping us informed. They've done an amazing job, and it's a different kind of stress than Sandy, but it's very stressful, and this, in my opinion, could have even more negative impacts on this town than Sandy did. So
Okay,
we really need you guys. Thank you.
I see Deb, you've joined us. Go ahead.
Oh, good.
Go ahead, Deb. Deb Whitcraft, can you hear us?
You must be muted.
She's not muted and her hand was up.
Oh.
Deb? Okay. Okay, then we'll move on. If you get working, Deb, just put your hand up again. Okay, up. She's still motioning. Go ahead, Deb. Okay.
I don't even see her.
Okay. Okay. Deb, can't hear you. Okay, so number 2 on the general discussion item was the farmer's market. We got an application for a special event for the farmer's market again this year. She's asking for every Wednesday, I believe, throughout the summer, which was 10 weeks plus. So last year we had pros and cons and happy people and not happy people about the farmer's market. And I would like the council to consider a couple things, possibly limiting the number of times that she could meet, that she could hold this event, or moving the location that she's requesting to Walsh Field between Ocean Street and Pearl Street to affect the business downtown area less. I think with every business trying to squeeze every dime, they don't, mercantile fees and taxes and possibly all the restrictions they're going to have. I just want to take into consideration our brick and mortar business community before we get her every day for the summer. So any thoughts?
How many times a summer are they looking to do this?
It would be 10 to 12 days. It's every Wednesday for the summer.
It's every Wednesday for the summer. It's 11 total days from 9 to 12.
9 to 12.
Right. So originally we were working on amending our special event fees, but we did not this cycle. So we are in the process of amending it for next season, which would increase the fees. But as of this summer, we have not, and we don't have anything that says how we can limit how many times someone can apply. So if we don't have anything in place, how
Well,
can we?
We do have discretion. I mean, we always have discretion. If you
Mhm.
remember a while back, we had a boxing event that came to town, and we met multiple times as a council with the boxing people, and we talked about how to make it better and how to make it safer and how would make us feel more comfortable. And, you know, we are allowed to ask of certain things to make it something that we're acceptable, that's acceptable to us.
Okay, so just
can-
to give everybody kind of a visual, I'm looking at the I've looked at the application before, and I believe there's only 2 vendors or 3 vendors. It's
Organic people, the sassafras people.
right. So it's Sassafras and Sarah's Farm.
Yeah,
and
that other guy.
And so it's 3 vendors probably taking up a space of, I don't know, 100 square feet or so. It's not a huge, it's smaller than the one that they have at the church. It's smaller than the farmer's market in Surf City. When we met with the health department last year, he was informing us that this is not uncommon. There's lots of areas that have these types of farmers market. And last year we did open it up to, if any other business wanted with no charge to join that market, that would be no problem whatsoever.
Yeah, I think I would prefer if she had more vendors. I feel like we did hear from people that wanted to participate, and she really was not allowing people to participate. It was her wanting to run her business. So
I disagree, Sherry. I hate to, I mean, she didn't want somebody to go buy something somewhere else and bring it in. I mean, she wanted somebody to either be growing their stuff or having eggs, you know, being picked at a farm and, you know, from chickens. And I think, you know, making their own stuff. But to me, I think, I have to say, I shop at Murphy's all the time, particularly almost every day with this coronavirus. It's so much easier than going anywhere else. And they've been wonderful. And I think we need to, this is my personal opinion, I'll go along with whatever anybody wants. But I think if we moved it up to Walsh Field, I think that would alleviate some of the anxiety that Mr. Murphy's having, because literally they're a half a block away from his parking lot. And I don't think on the weekdays people are parking his parking lot to go to hit the farm, or if they do, they probably buy stuff at Murphy's and walk down there. Most of the people I see are on bicycles, but I think that would be at least one way of alleviating his stress over this. And again, everything depends on what's going on with this coronavirus as well.
Yeah. I would appreciate that concession if we could move it.
Would you agree to that, Jamie, if you talked to Sarah?
I've spoken to her many of times, and it's just that down at Walsh Field, that's not the center of town. It doesn't really have the foot traffic that Veterans Bicentennial Park has. So that was a concern that, you know, if it's going to succeed, it would need to be an area that has a heavier foot traffic. And that's the best place in town that has that type of foot traffic.
What about down at Schooner's Wharf, like Masco Meadows or somewhere like that? I mean, they're busy down there. I mean, it's a matter of people. The people that go to that market are people that are going to find her. I mean, everywhere in Beach Haven is a bike ride, or even a walk. So the people that want her produce are going to find her. And you could put a sign up saying that it's been moved to Walsh Field. It's only 2 blocks away. I mean, talk to her about it. I appreciate Jamie dealing with this, because she is, it's a lot of time because she's quite a talker. And she's a nice lady, and she has really great produce. You know, it's wonderful. And I like to see that kind of activity in town.
Well, there's a positive here that we have so many members of the business community on this call. I think that when we get to public comment, we might hear some comments about it. So maybe we can just set this discussion aside and get some feedback before we do anything else. Does that sound all right?
Sounds wonderful.
Okay, I know that Beverly now has Deb on the line. I just wanted her to speak to nonprofits before we move on to the last item.
Muting. Okay, Deb.
I've been trying to be heard, but, you know, the nonprofits aren't heard by the Beach Haven Chamber of Commerce at all.
We can hear you now. We can hear you.
What little support we get is from the Southern Ocean County Chamber of Commerce. That farmers market raised money for the LBI Historical and for the Maritime Museum, and it was virtually the only support that we got when the borough approved that last year. To even think, I mean, what little support we get, you shouldn't be trying to take it away from us. I can't even get the local Chamber of Commerce to acknowledge that we exist, and we have to fight for every bit of support by the business community and by the borough that we can get, and it's just getting really, really old. And all of us, Reclaim the Bay, Alliance for Living Ocean, LBI Historical, the Maritime Museum, the library, come on, we count too.
Do you have any suggestions for the borough? Deb, do you have any suggestions how the borough can help that group of people? How can we help that group?
Well, nobody's even asked. The Beach Haven Chamber of Commerce doesn't even include us when they send out newsletters.
Well, I'm asking you now.
John Cunningham saying that, oh, we've you know, included everybody in the emails. Well, Rick Bush now responded back and said, sorry, I wasn't included. And, you know, we're part of the community too. And I know Mr. Wainwright appreciates this because he's done so much for the first aid squad and for the fire company, but he and his staff also acknowledge that nonprofit organizations, museums, historical societies are very, very important to the visitors to Beach Haven, to Long Beach Island. So don't leave us on the sidelines and act like we're not here. We're here, and we play an important role. And it's time that was acknowledged.
The council is trying to put together some things that we could incorporate into an executive order to help every facet of our community. Do you have some ideas how this council, the mayor and council, what we could do during a COVID pandemic to support your group?
I absolutely do, but it's not being done through our chamber. That's the problem.
No, they don't govern the mayor and council. It doesn't come from an executive order. The mayor and council, the emergency management team, we're only working with them as a team so that we could have a mouthpiece and a way to gather information. Today's meeting is about the mayor and council and emergency management and what the borough of Beach Haven can do to support every type of business or nonprofit or museum. So I'm asking if you have any ideas or any members of your group have any ideas about what the borough can do to support you.
Absolutely, we do. And as I mentioned before to you, when the Borough of Beach Haven had out a booklet that they gave to all the visitors that had articles written by Gretchen Coyle and Jeanette Lloyd about Beach Haven history. It had information about the LBI Historical. It had information about the Maritime Museum, the library and its museum, Alliance for a Living Ocean, Reclaim the Bay, all family activities that are an important part of people's vacations. It was a wonderful booklet. You said this year the borough doesn't have the funds to put it out again, and that's unfortunate because it doesn't cost that much money to put it out. We're going head over heels to help the business community, and yet we're told, the nonprofits, well, we don't have the funding for that. You know, come on. You know, really, I'm just so disgusted because.
Do you have any other suggestions?
And I'm just disgusted, and I know the nonprofits that I represent are feeling the same way. We're just.
Do you have any other suggestions?
Secondary status in this town, but if all of us were no longer in existence, you would realize how much visitors depend on us.
Are there any other suggestions, Deb?
I do, and I will discuss them with you. There's no sense in me taking up time with this format because the people involved in this format aren't really concerned about this. So I will deal with you outside of this.
Thanks, Bev.
Let me just say something, Deb. I think I'm concerned. I support the nonprofits. I think your museum, all the Reclaim the Bay, the the LBI historical music. They're such a huge part of Beach Haven, and I included you in on that letter I wrote. And I certainly, we need to make sure that you're included on everything, as I mentioned with the churches as well. And we'll be more conscientious about this in the future. And we would really appreciate advice and help. You've been mayor, you know how hard it is.
Okay, I'd like to move the discussion on if you don't mind.
Nope.
Okay, we have a draft ordinance real quick that I'd like, Jamie, if you could take this part of the meeting and explain to the other members of council what this ordinance is about, so they can decide at the next meeting if they would like to introduce it.
Okay, so I'm just opening it. So the draft pool ordinance is to include in-ground pools as the 35% lot coverage moving forward. And within the master plan, we have moved to somehow try to decrease the flooding in our area. We have funded future pumping stations. We have lowered the impervious-pervious standard. And now I would like to move forward with that because it is more or less a community effort to try to decrease our impervious surfaces. So this ordinance is to include in-ground pools as the 35% lot coverage when building.
And we have Bruce on the call. Bruce, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to say is that the way it's drafted now includes above ground and in ground. And I know we had some emails back and forth, Jamie, about that. So we could do whatever the council prefers. It just seemed that your pool ordinance has two definitions: swimming pools, which includes above ground and in ground, and then temporary or portable. I forget which it actually refers to it. So it seemed more appropriate just from the legal perspective, since you have a definition, to just use that definition, but council has authority to do whatever it wants. That's your prerogative.
Right, so Bruce, when I was reading the ordinance, how I read it as that portable pools are above ground pools, and that swimming pools more or less are just in-ground pools no matter what the depth is. So that's how I was reading the ordinance, and I would not want to. The reason why I wanted to include in-ground pools is because the in-ground pools in Beach Haven are put in by pilings. So all of the in-ground pools have pilings, they're permanent structures, and I see the increase in in-ground pools. We had 50 pools put in less than 2 years as a concern moving forward. So what are you recommending here? To keep
I would recommend using the definition of swimming pool that you already have, and that includes, I could read it: any manufactured, artificially constructed, or developed structure intended for swimming, recreational bathing, or wading that contains water over 12 inches deep, includes outdoor, above, or below grade level swimming pools that are installed or constructed to provide recreational facilities for swimming, bathing, or wading. There's a separate ordinance or definition you have for portable pool that is defined as any above surface pool which is not stationary or fixed, is capable of being removed for storage, and has a capacity of more than 75 square feet. And I think Joanne Talon pointed out that maybe should read 75 cubic feet. But that would take care of those temporary portable pools, even those nicer, higher structured ones that kind of can stay for a year or a season but get taken away. Whereas like a traditional, what we think of above ground pool, is still a permanent structure and usually has a deck affixed to it and things of that nature that still may affect the pervious coverage. So it's really whatever the preference of the council is, but I like including that because that seems to be included within the definition of swimming pool that you already have.
Okay, and I just wanted to add too that adding in-ground pools is not a stretch for Beach Haven. There are many towns that have in-ground pools included in their lot coverage, as do some other towns also have driveways as their lot coverage. So this is not a stretch here. And if we are moving, with protecting green appearance, open and natural environment, this is the right path, I think, to go to moving forward.
Right, Nancy or Dan or Tom on this?
Well, I agree with Jamie. I really think, the lots are so small and you start to get all these pools, you can't get the decent setbacks. It's pervious, it's impervious, and I think people have to make a decision. Do they want a pool or a bigger house?
Okay. Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I personally never, I grew up on the bay and the ocean, so I personally never saw the real attraction for a pool. But I mean, it's, there's, on my street alone, I think there's 4 or 5 pools in now that have gone in within the last 2 years. And it's really, I think something needs to be done, because I don't understand how they're fitting in and still maintaining pervious coverage. And maybe this is a way to do that. At least, to start the discussion on how to try and rein this in a little bit. So.
Thank you. Tom?
Yeah, I agree. I've seen so many pools being built, and I've had 2 or 3 contractors tell me that the town is really going a lot to pools, and they're selling them. And I think it's about time we put some kind of control in here, because I think it's getting a little out of hand. So I think maybe now is the time to do it.
I think it's getting a lot out of hand, but you just beware. You're going to have a lot of We're going to have a lot of pushback.
Sure you will.
It's going to be awful.
I understand the pushback that's going to come, and I have a lot of different concerns outlined. So when we move forward with this ordinance, I'd be more than happy to talk to anyone that has, concerns, and explain where my position is coming from with this, including dewatering, open space, noise and privacy as well. Pools is a different type of noise. It's a consistent play. So I'm looking forward to many more discussions about that.
If we could move forward with an introduction the beginning of May, we could be holding a public hearing either the end of May or the beginning of June. So we'll see how it plays out. I have a bill list today in the amount of $736,842.46.
Has everybody had a chance to? That's a pretty small bill list for.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I have a quick question, Sherry.
Yeah.
So we talked. I saw the amount for the electric company, and we mentioned this before, and now I see with more of the streetscape lights going up, if we can have maybe a discussion in the future of turning off the overhead. I don't know, safety wise, we'd have to have a conversation, how many lumens need to be on an open street, if, does the streetscape lights have that? But it is a discussion to have, because with the streetscape lights and the overhead lights, it's kind of an overkill. If you're trying to have that kind of atmosphere with the lower lights, if we could just have that and turn the overhead lights off, I mean,
didn't we try that in front of the
we have discussed this over and
I know, but that was just when we had the pocket park lights. Now we have, the pocket park, right. We have streetscape lights in front of 5th Street, 6th Street, 7th Street, and Fantasy Island. And
hey, I agree with you, Jamie. I've been fighting to get less lights for a long time. I'd like to see the stars.
If you notice, the streetscape lights in front of the borough are taller than the rest of town, because we built the building. We knew that the ray of light that it shines didn't meet the center of the street. So there might be a little bit of an issue there to have full coverage of the street at the height that the street lights are at. So I can look into that and see if it's necessary to keep those. But I think that's what happened. That's why we ended up raising ours up here.
There were a lot of safety issues, and we can address it, maybe come up with some better ideas. You're right, we're getting for the nicer looking lights, so maybe we can decrease some of the overhead lights. We'll see.
Speaking of overhead lights, has there been any more thought into doing more LEDs like we have on the boulevard through the other sections of town?
Yeah, I recently just asked the finance office to show me the savings. Like, I want to just confirm that we are seeing significant savings from the 110 lights that we already switched to LED before we decide if we're going to tackle any more.
Good.
Okay. So do we have any other questions on the bill list?
No.
So a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second,
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Ms. Baumiller,
yes.
Mr. Lynch,
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Okay, so at this point, we'll open the floor to the public comment. What I'd like you to do is electronically raise your hand with the controls at the bottom of your screen, and then we will call on everyone one at a time. So if you would like to speak, please raise your hand. I see Mike Batista. Go ahead, Mike.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
This is my first Zoom and I don't have a camera, so I apologize. Next time I'll have a camera.
That's okay.
I did not get the email from the chamber, but I just wanted to make some comments to council about what I thought would be effective for the summer. My view, everybody should know that I believe Beach Haven is the greatest place on Long Beach Island, and that we should continue to be a leader and expose ourselves to really positive things that can help everyone. And in this instance, the restaurants and the bars are going to take a big hit this summer. We have no idea what's going to go on, but certainly it's going to affect us all. And Beach Haven has two really big assets, many assets, but for the summertime, the beaches are incredible. They draw a lot of people, and the restaurants and the bars then add to that entire experience. And if the borough can do anything to help the restaurants and bars, it's going to be in that area of testing. People are going to be, we can't survive on takeout alone. We're going to get by, but if we can have some dining inside, people are going to be reluctant, first of all, to go inside. For the social distancing, we're going to lose half of our occupancy at least, I would say. And people are going to be concerned that people they don't see in the kitchens and so forth are handling food. I would be concerned. I'm going to be concerned as an owner with my own staff. The borough has more leverage, has more firepower than we do in obtaining grants and money and the testing kits. I can't do it as well as the administration can do it. And we should mobilize our entire town council should be lobbying for these tests. And if we can do them on premise, the problem is that if you test somebody today, they may be positive tomorrow. So to do it effectively, we have to do it regularly. And the entire island has to know that we're doing this. And the people that are visiting Beach Haven and that live here have to know that we can go out to eat in our restaurants because they're safe. The rest of it, the gloves, the shields, the masks, the alcohol for disinfectant, the Purell wipes and all that. If I were in your shoes right now, I'd be going after a low interest loan, and I would borrow as much money as I need to fund every one of the restaurants, to have a Purell station out front, to have a 50-gallon drum of isopropyl alcohol in the back room, spray bottles, masks for all of the restaurant workers. Don't forget, these are going to be like hospital workers too. They're going to be right on the front line. They're going to be walking up to a table. Maybe they have to stand back a little, but there's going to be a lot of interaction. And so I know it's going to be expensive, but just look at the dollar value that the restaurant and bar business is going to lose this summer. Borrowing $500,000 or $1 million at 0.02% for 30 years to support the restaurant and the bar business, to me, is not even, I would do it in a second. Now, you're going to have blowback from the other businesses. Everybody's going to suffer. But I don't see other businesses being affected as much as the restaurants and the bars. people may have to wait a little longer to get through a line at Murphy's or at the pharmacies or at the, well, I don't even think we have a hardware store anymore, do we? But I think the restaurants and the bars, they're an important asset to our town. And I think the Borough Council should just pull guns blazing, get that job done, and get supported. And don't worry about how much money it's going to cost. It's insignificant. I will weigh in on the farmers market. I think it's an excellent idea, and I would do everything to support a farmers market. And thank you for approving my resolution for the month. I think that's going to be a great situation for the summer, and we'll do a nice job improving that sidewalk.
Thank you, Michael. Steve, I see your hand, but I did have Jen with hers up first, so I'm going to go to her next. Go ahead, Jen.
Okay, hi. All right, I made a few notes. Let me just go through them here. For Nancy's response about the Beach Haven suggestions, that list that I sent today, I guess I just wanted to make clear that those were a combination of what I received from the business community. They're not demands. We're not asking it. I'm just relaying, what we got. And I'm speaking on behalf of everybody in the chamber that we really do appreciate you helping out and working with us and the meeting on Tuesday. Let me just see what else I had on that. So basically what that was is we just we're not asking for the town to open up immediately or place any demands like we have to open. That was never discussed. It was more about when the town opened. All our correspondence was about when this happens, when the governor, lifts his ban. We just wanted to be prepared. So I just wanted to get that clear too. And about the farmers market, I also have an opinion on that. I like that idea. I think that we don't have that many brick and mortar stores that sell fruits and vegetables. This has nothing to do with chamber. This is from Jen Cunningham. I think that it's really good to have a few choices. Okay, that's just my opinion on that. Now, regarding the nonprofits, we have always, since the beginning of the Beach Haven Chamber, had our correspondence going to the museums, the library, and whatever the other nonprofits are on that list. I guess Deb Whitcraft was not included in our discussions because when we put this committee together real quick about a week and a half ago, it was the people that were on that committee were people that responded and wanted to help and give us their input. And, we narrowed it down and we had a good group, and basically everything that we talked about, safety wise and for the town and restaurants and everything else, most of that really does involve everybody, retail, even nonprofits. So we also did ask if she would like to join the discussion on Tuesday, but she said she was going to be at this meeting. So let me just see. Whatever we did come up with and discuss with Sherry was, I feel it's basically covers everybody. Had we gotten any feedback, we would have included that, but we didn't receive any feedback, although the emails were opened and read. Okay, so also I'm hoping that going forward, we can all work together positively. This is a real good start. We started that, and, positively and in a healthy manner, and the negativity is not going to get us anywhere. So we're just the chamber and everybody on the chamber, we're really trying to do our best in a very new situation. So I just hope people have a little bit more patience. Okay, now for Mike Batista, you were not included in the chamber emails. I will be putting you on. I just want you to also be patient that we are trying to catch up with non-members. You are not a member. So that may be a reason why you didn't get an email. And we are trying to catch up because we are trying to reach out to all businesses now. So that hopefully, I'm going to get that done tonight. Okay, that's pretty much what I wanted to say.
All right, thanks, Jen.
Thanks.
Steve?
Hello. I just wanted to remind everybody, while we may be a relatively large business, we are actually a nonprofit as well. I just wanted to say that I'm very pleased that there seems to be good support for our possibility, and I'm working on getting the whole application together for the Surflight Theater to operate in the park. Just so that you know, it would be a 50 by 100 foot tent. It would run south to north, so that we'd only be extending 50 feet north of that little Christmas tree that's in the park. So there'd still be plenty of room for the Ingleside to park down at the other end of the park. And just so that you know, if we're able to do basically our schedule of programming from the middle of July until Labor Day, with the social distancing that's going to be required, with the seating that we're going to be allowed to have in this tent, which is much, much more than we'd be able to do in the theater. It's still only about 230 people, 240 people. We're still working on the seating. Our organization, if we're able to do that, would lose about $100,000 over the course of this season. That's, we can withstand that, and we'll be able to get it back in the following year. If we're not able to operate this year because we can't operate in a closed building, we'll lose about $450,000, and we will have to close. So this is really, really important. We can withstand dealing with the park and dealing with that amount, but if we can't operate this year, we're seriously in trouble. Thank you very much, and I appreciate everybody's support.
Thanks, Steve. All right, Bonnie?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm in favor of the farmers market in Walsh Field. And the reason I say that, I understand Jamie's viewpoint about foot traffic, but a lot of times things go on in the park, and if you don't go down Beach Avenue, you might miss it completely if you don't live right around that area. And everybody goes up and down Bay Avenue and goes right by Walsh Field. And I just think it's worth a try to have it in Walsh Field to see how it's received. I just think they'd get a lot more people there just because people would see it and stop. So that's my opinion on that. I think it's common sense to let them park in Veterans Park. I've always thought there should be parking there. And I also think that the testing is a great idea for the restaurants. I know it's a difficult thing to set up and monitor. It's just going to be a very tough year for restaurants and bars, and whatever we can do to support them with takeout food right now, I think it's up to the community to do that. That's it.
Thank you very much, Bonnie. Is there any other member of the public that would like to speak? Raise your hand, please. Nancy, I don't see any.
Okay, if nobody else wants to speak.
I have Mr. Burris.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Bill.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I guess I wanted to emphasize a point that I think Jen made earlier, and that is that nobody's talking about dates. We're talking about a plan and what we need to do. It's overwhelming. We have to do something to be ready because, you know, the governor announced yesterday golf courses are opening today because he got a lot of pressure from the golf association. Restaurants are different. We know we're going to have social distance. We know the bars are going to be an issue, but this is only a short season, and I like the idea of the tables and chairs outside. We're obviously working on a plan for the Black Hawk to do something. We've already submitted what we'd like to do with respect to Bird and Betty's, but we need to figure out, especially when you have 1,660 occupancy between two places, you know, and we're limited to some fraction of that. We have no idea what the fraction is going to be. We'd like to be able to survive past this year and, you know, do what we need to do. We're just trying to get a plan, be prepared. They're going to tell us at some point, and they may not give us very much notice, but we have to know where we're headed when we do. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Any other member of the public wanting to speak?
Pete Palladino has his hand up.
Go ahead,
Hey,
Pete.
everybody. Hi. So, along what Bill was talking about, I think that, all of us, none of us know what's going to happen, right? It could be announced tomorrow that it's, X date. I think for the township, anything that you could do to kind of expedite any processes and applications and kind of be that one-stop resource. Sherry, you and I were emailing back and forth about questions about the ABC and expansion of liquor license. There's so much misinformation, and I'm getting one set of facts from people that I'm dealing with Daddio and a different set of facts for people in Beach Haven. If we could have one place that we're going to and saying, okay, what do we need to do here? Because, for a lot of us, this is ground that we've never covered before. We're all just trying to do this very, very quickly. And as Bill said, the clock is ticking. If this all of a sudden becomes July 1st, there's a lot of things that are going to happen for us to get ready. Same with if it's June 1st, right? That's not a lot of time in order to get any of these outside applications in, approved, tents, et cetera, et cetera. So anything that the township can do to kind of expedite any of that process would be amazing.
Pete, did you start working on an application for the temporary site plan approval?
I do have that sitting in front of me, and I've got drawings set up. I'm headed to Tucker's on Monday to actually measure it out just to make sure. Tables need to be edge to edge 6 feet, correct?
We think that the patrons sitting at the tables need to be 6 feet apart.
Okay.
So that might be a little bit different. Now, I really, Pete, I'm so confident. I really feel like the division of ABC is going to allow, and I have no proof for this, but I'm suspecting that they're going to allow that online a temporary extension of premise application that you would normally use for an event. That is what they're going to use, I'm guessing. I just think that it's going to be an online application and you'll get municipal approvals electronically, and it will be a streamlined process. They just haven't pulled the trigger yet on their end, and we're all hounding them.
Right. I think, if it would certainly help all of us if as soon as any information becomes available, if you could just, forward that to all of us and just say, everybody, they just opened this up. It's here.
Absolutely.
Go get them.
Absolutely. Thanks, Pete.
Thank you.
Okay.
Rob Zarco. We have Rob Zarco.
Hey, everybody. I emailed you earlier, Sherry, about our condition where the temporary permit from the ABC, that's really not in effect for breweries. So we have a little bit of an issue there. I'm trying to work that out, that we could actually serve if we do get a spot outside. But right now, they're throwing up their hands and saying we're not allowed to do that. So, for us, this is going to be kind of a game changer or a hurdle we have to get through. And any help you guys could do to help me get approval with the ABC.
Yeah. Rob, you're in a definitely unique situation, and I think if we have to, we should Zoom call or get together and talk about what we specifically can do for your business, because that's definitely a different category than every other liquor license that we have.
No, I agree. And I appreciate anything we do. Just let me know what you need from me, and then I could jump on a call or provide additional information, but I appreciate the help.
Okay, no problem.
Anybody else? Bill Trom wants to.
I just wanted to say, I think a lot of our answers are going to have to come from our health department. So as far as your restaurant owners and the business owners, I think you might want to reach out to them and having them seeing if they're liking the plan that if we think is going to work, or if they're going to put other guidelines in. And the other thing I wanted to say is, I know we're talking about putting tents up and putting things up outside our businesses to keep kind of restaurants down. I just want to make sure that if you have side drops in there, that it doesn't come an enclosed space, and then that would be considered inside seating. That's why I just wanted to bring those things up. That's all.
I would
I know
also
that
like
when the
to
health
know.
department when the health department's reviewing these applications, Bill, they are going to be looking at, barrier-free
Okay.
areas.
I just would like to make sure that all of the retail businesses, including the restaurants and the little shops, on April 20th, we sent out federal guidelines for you to create your plans to open your businesses. If you didn't get them, you should email me and I will certainly make sure that you get them. But those are just federal guidelines. Until the governor gives us something, we don't have an answer. And unfortunately, we don't get it before the general public. We get it after he already talks about it. So our hands are just as tied, just so you're aware. That's how it is with government. Politics.
Did you also, Bev, want to tell any small business owners that are on the call about the loan information that you got?
Okay, so I actually got that from the chamber. Thank you for sending that little blurb out yesterday. Originally, when I applied for the PPP, because we are a business owner as well, a very small business, we were denied because we did not have payroll in February. However, that little thing that got sent out yesterday, I reached back out to the bank and said, wait a minute, according to these guidelines, you're not letting me pick my 8 weeks as a seasonal business, and I deserve to get this for when I could be open, hopefully. And there's many businesses in our community who I think were also turned down the same way. I'm just telling you to reach out again to your bank because now they are re-examining the application. That's all I got.
Can I speak to that?
Who's that?
I'm sorry, that's Cheryl Painter.
Okay.
Hey, so I actually sent that information to, oh, I'm still not, hold on, that. There I am. So I work for the Small Business Administration, and my job, I'm actually working with the lenders to get out these PPP loans. And new guidance has been released for seasonal businesses. So now seasonal businesses can take any 12 weeks up until September 15th, and they can utilize those 12 weeks, and then they divide it by 3 to come out with their average monthly amount. And then the way a PPP loan works is you're eligible for 2.5 times that average monthly amount. Now, it's a huge deal for the Shore community because you wind up qualifying for 4 times the amount that you originally qualified for. All of this information is updated daily, and I wanted to get on to encourage people to go to the treasury.gov website. Frequently asked questions are out every day, and that's exactly where the new language for seasonal businesses can be found. And if anybody is trying to apply with a lender that has no clue about new guidance that they've stumbled upon, go to the treasury.gov website. You can see it there, and you can actually provide them with that information. And if anybody wants to reach out with any questions, I've already given that information to Jen, and I know it's been distributed to the chamber, but you know, to just, you know, it's cheryl.painter@sba.gov, and I'm happy to answer any additional questions.
Cheryl, is there still money in the pot?
There is. There is, out of the 300 and change, there were 90 billion as of yesterday that was utilized. This process is going a lot slower than last time, deliberately. They've just turned off the ability for the robot submission. People were blitzing like 15,000 applications at once. So now it's really being done on a much fairer level. And I've been reaching out to the community. Like I know Nicole over at TD Bank has reached out just to try to help to get the word out, but it will be a lot slower of a process. The EIDL loans that's the economic injury disaster loans. That was replenished, but the portal has not opened up yet because they want to go through the applications they have, and then they are planning on opening it back up. And in that case, people can get a $10,000 advance immediately as well.
Wow.
I guess that's, the only other thing with the PPP, you have to use 75% for payroll. The only thing that's still really unclear is that you currently have to spend the money by June 30th. That's the way the rule is written. Obviously, that's odd with the seasonal shore community. So I'm hoping, and I check and I look for guidance every day to see that they've altered that you're able to spend in the period that you qualified in. So stay tuned for that.
Okay, Cheryl, if you could stay on the line, and if any other businesses have questions, if you could answer them, okay? Hold on. Mike Batista?
Hi, I just want to, in closing, say tomorrow is May 1st, and this entire issue is all about the virus. The more we can neutralize this virus, all these other things are going to go away. And the best way to neutralize this thing is through testing and testing and testing. And the more testing Beach Haven can do, the better Beach Haven is going to look. So we have to find where these kids are and how to get them into town, and then disinfecting. And I don't know, Bill, what you guys can do, what the police department can do. I saw the initial video images of Hong Kong being blasted with these fog guns and so forth. Anything we can do that sends a picture to the general public that Beach Haven is clean and we're fighting this virus is going to be the most important thing that we can do in this entire.
Mike, Steve?
Yes, Cheryl, thank you for being on here. We received a $7,000 deposit, which I assume is part of that the $10,000 that you were talking about that you can get from the EIDL loan, and absolutely no other communication. So I'm curious, does that mean that our our EIDL loan is under review, or they'll get to me eventually because they're overloaded? And then the other question I have for you has to do with the PPP loan. Yes, if we took our 90 days ending September 15th, our loan amount could be much larger, but I'm concerned that starting over at this point is a scary thing to do because we're submitted, I think, and so we're just sort of waiting to hear.
So two things. One is regarding the EIDL. If you have gotten an advance, that means that you are under review. They're trying to launch an online status portal, which will hopefully be shortly, so that people, this is Ken, my husband. So you can, right now what you would do is call a customer service number, and they will tell you, where is it?
They will tell. I called the number and they said, "Oh, please don't call us again. We're too busy."
No. Well, hopefully they're actually getting a little bit better with all that. That number, by the way, is 1-800-659-2955. And the only thing they can really do is look up your information and tell you that you're in the queue. But the fact that we've gotten it in advance tells me that your application is being processed. And then regarding the PPP, my suggestion would be to refill out your PPP application and refill out your borrower certification form, because that's what they have to do. And the lender should be able to go into the system and edit your application and add more money. That's the way it's supposed to work. But you have to have that extra information, because they can't have just, oh, hey, we now qualify. It has to be a whole new application, but they can just edit it. So if that helps.
Okay, yes, it does. Yeah, I was really concerned about changing anything at this point.
No, yeah, because you're already in, they should be able to just edit it and not thrown to the end of the line, because I think that's your concern.
Yes, it is.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the public?
Okay, none?
Yep.
All right, so I close the floor. And now we have the final comments by council. So who wants to start? Jamie, I see you right there. Start.
Okay. I'll make it brief. I think this has been a really productive meeting. Thank you, Cheryl, for chiming in. That was help to a lot of the businesses. And thank you to the chamber for bringing together businesses. And thank you for everyone else that maybe wasn't included on that initial email, but have also given suggestions. I just wanted to also, thank the EOC again, the fire department, the first responders, everyone that's going in as essential workers, keeping us, actively in the community. And just, to the rest of the public that is going to be listening to this meeting, everyone is working really hard on a plan to be as successful as possible moving forward in the summer. And so keep your ideas coming, and so we can move forward as soon as we get the green light safely and responsibly. That's it.
Thank you. Dan, I see you.
Okay. I'd like to also, mirror what Jimmy's, I think communication is key in this situation. I know, Nancy and I have talked, Jamie and I have talked, I've talked with Sherry, about things that we could be doing to help the businesses. I would love to reach out. I'm going to try and reach out to the museum later to talk to Debbie and hear some of her ideas in person. And I think the more that we can reach out and find what we can do for when the restrictions are eased up, that we're ready to hit the ground running, the better. I know we're all working very hard on it. And, I'd also like to thank everybody in town, from the EMS to the fire department, the police department, people in the grocery stores, the postal workers, everybody that's out there kind of keeping us together. And I think if we do this right, we'll be in good shape.
Tom, are you there?
Yes, I am. Just a couple of quick notes. First of all, I'm very encouraged by the meeting today and the communication, because I think people are not looking for, they're looking for ideas and comments to work with each other, which I think is a very encouraging thing. So keep those great ideas coming. I also thought the idea of I call it the one-stop shopping, where if someone has a process, rather than go to 5 to 6 different places, we could have maybe just one location that we could get a lot of things done. I also encouraged by the idea of the testing kits and how properly we could use them in town. I think we're really, everybody's saying this, we're all out to help the people, the borough, the community, the business sections. We want to help everybody out as much as we possibly can. So any suggestions they would have would really be an asset, and we could see what happens. But of course, we have to wait for the governor's approval. That's going to take a little bit of time, I'm sure. And last but not least, the first responders. I really want to go out of it, say they're doing a great job, very, very positive. They really helped out in a time of need. And I really think they are really the backbone of this town, and I really appreciate them for all their help. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom. And I agree with everything everybody said, so I don't want to reiterate it all. But we are all in this together. We need to work together. And I think this meeting, as Jamie and Dan, I think this, and all of you said, has been very productive. So let's all try to support each other and help our town survive this. We are so unique in Beach Haven because we do have an actual business community, and we want to keep that. It's so important. So let's all work together, and hopefully we'll have better communications, and all of you have great ideas. So feel free, if you need to talk to me or you have an idea, call me or shoot me an email or a text. Thank you. So I guess I have a motion. I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.